Welcome to Vegas.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for coming out here. I know you drove out here for absolutely no reason at all. No, we've got a new amplifier to introduce.
To finally release.
Yeah. Well, first of all, a little backstory. You and I have been working and collaborating together since you built my first system like 25 years ago, right?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, pretty much when I moved to Los Angeles. Now I'm living in Vegas, if anybody's curious. This is my home studio. And I've toured with your amplifiers, different versions of each one. We had the Steve Stevens model, and then as your line progressed, there were things that I kept seeing on other amplifiers that you did, your BE, and then you did the deluxe version, and I was inquisitive, like, can we do that to my amplifier? So I guess that's where we're at now.
Where we came around to the SS-V2.
Right, version 2.
So Steve was actually the first artist signature amp that we did at Friedman, and you were the first guy.
Wow.
And it's been years now, so it's time for its update.
Yeah.
It's time to remodel.
Yeah, and really, the main thing that I told you is I don't want to lose anything about the inherent coolness of the first amplifier. Obviously it's something that I hear in my head, and it applies to the obviously the Billy Idol stuff and the bands and artists that I work with. I hear a certain sound in my head. Your amps help me get to that point, and now with this one, I think we've improved on certain aspects of it, but mainly it's the versatility side of it, the having the independent channels.
Yeah, so what we did with this version of the amp is we added, before there was a boost, but it had no gain and master. It would just boost what was there already. So like some of the other amps we have now, we have a gain and master for the SS Plus channel.
Right.
And then the SS channel has its own gain and master.
Right.
You have an overall system volume for the whole thing, which is great for going up and down. If once you balance out your channels, you want to just go up and down.
Right.
That's really useful.
Yeah,
and
super useful.
We added a thump knob. It previously was preset in the amplifier,
oh, okay.
But the thump gives you just the ability to, if you want, as you're turning up the volume on the amp, generally you want a little less.
Right.
And you can now pull that out,
right,
which is not something you could do before. You could pull it out all the way if you'd like.
Right.
And at a certain volume, you would adjust the controls differently, but at a certain volume,
gotcha,
that works.
Right. Yeah. Is there anything different that you did? Because the one characteristic is my clean channel is super clean, and it's a kind of a pedal platform channel. Did you do anything different?
The clean channel is virtually exactly the same as it was on the old amp.
Okay.
The dirty channel is slightly different, a little more percussive.
Right.
Maybe a little more aggressive, slightly than the old one, but it still retains that old kind of plexi thing inherently in the amplifier, which is what you used to be known for, and that's what I always thought. I mean, told you a long time ago.
Yep.
It's kind of what you were known for. That's the kind of sound you should have.
That's right. Sharp edges, defined stuff, stuff that locks it. I mean, 90% of the time, especially with a Billy Idol gig, I'm a rhythm guitar player. Our solos are always pretty economical. So that rhythm channel, it has to be the workforce of the amplifier. And that's, to me, we were just talking about that when you've got a great tone and great kind of frequency curve and also great natural compression of the amp, you don't need that much gain. I've never been a guy that's like, I don't want tons of preamp gain. I mean, this amp certainly has more than anyone could ever want in the gain thing, and the boost channel gives me that for solos. That's great, but majority, 80% of the time, I need that rhythm, that open classic rock guitar rhythm thing. That's that's what's in our heads. In the eras we grew up in, and you're a little before myself, but
but still we grew up with all this music, and
Yeah.
and it still rings in our heads.
Yeah.
It's stuck in there.
Yeah.
And that sounds we
I mean,
want to hear.
I come from the days of you couldn't even, and this is New York, and when I started playing in bands in 76, 77, you couldn't even find a guy who knew what a master volume was. Can you put a master volume?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of guys who screwed up your amplifiers
Sure.
doing it, and then you get it, and there was all this goop in there. There was one guy in particular who did that, thought he was a genius. He was ruining everybody's amps.
Yeah, there's a couple guys that.
Yeah. And then I heard about Jose
Mm-hmm.
and brought an amp out to LA on one of my visits. Had some mods done by Jose. Made me a little load box. That was the beginning of,
Yeah.
of that whole era.
Yeah.
And
The slaving of the marshals.
yeah,
Like
yeah. But
commonplace.
still, your amps are the first that I've used that I found the master volumes useful. That are workable. That are
Yeah, you can play it. You can play it in here, whisper quiet,
Yeah.
while someone's sleeping if you want to,
It's-
and it'll still sound cool.
It still sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It won't move a speaker or move air.
That's
but,
a whole different
But
thing,
that's a
yeah.
whole different.
Yeah.
That's a whole different concept. But
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's the amp is super versatile. I mean it takes a lot of the guesswork out of your, if you're in a touring band, a front of house guy, now your solos can really pop out, and you're not solely dependent on the guy knowing your set and everything, and you're in control of your whole thing.
One more thing we added on the amp too, because you asked for it, was a fat switch.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
That-
you
yeah.
tried it out once on a different amp, and you were
Right.
like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and I've toured with the proto of this amp for the last. I mean, COVID could put a bit of a kibosh on that, but by and large, for the last.
I have
year-
no time frame anymore, right?
Yeah.
After.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I road tested it, and I mean, it's exact. Look, if somebody else, I always look at gear. Same with my signature guitars and stuff. I'm spoiled. I got guys like you and Nags to build me what my dream stuff would be, and if that works for other people, great. But to me, I don't really care whose name is on it. It's nice that we have this working
Yeah.
relationship and stuff. But I play other amps of yours.
Sure.
BEs that I've got, and I even have one of your little guys. But I believe you. I guess we just love the same music and the same. We grew up with those records.
Yeah.
And it's like something I can't even explain to somebody.
I can't either. I mean, I get asked that all the time. I go, it's just the sound in my head.
Yeah.
What do you listen for?
Yeah.
It's hard to explain.
I don't know. Yeah.
It's hard to explain. There's things I listen for, certain overtones and certain things.
Right.
Certain. Oh, you were always known for when you were playing rhythm, they had a little chirp.
Yeah.
That just the way you percussively played rhythm.
Right.
And that I always hear that in my head.
Yeah.
And that popping out, and that
Absolutely.
thing.
It's like, it's the same deal I have with engineers that I work with. I can't explain what it's like to the first time you heard Van Halen record or Back in Black or House of the Holy. It's like you have to love those records, and you have to be in that world of it's a language that we understand.
Yes.
And it's I'm not the most articulate. I don't think I've ever said to you, the amp needs more at 400 or something. I just
Well, no, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
So
me neither.
that logic, I can't what?
Yeah.
What are you saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I get more comments. Well, can you make it a little warmer sounding? Okay,
Right.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And you make it brighter. Okay.
Yeah. And it's always no ice pick. I don't want that ice pick.
Yeah, ice pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. No ice pick.
And
But it has to be bright.
thump. Give me some more thump.
Yeah.
And I think the thing I always said to you is, a lot of amps, and I've struggled with this for many years. Whenever I played up the neck, once I got past the 12th fret on the E and the B string, it always thinned out, and I'd always have to if I was recording, bump in an EQ for that. And that was my main thing, was like, Dave, can you build an amp that doesn't thin out on those upper registers, but then doesn't get muddy on the bottom register, you know, on the low strings. And I don't know how you did it, but
I guess I did it.
that's to me, that's the Friedman sound.
Yeah.
That's the characteristic thing that the amp, you know, the notes hang and they have body to them. This like a whole complexity to it, rather than you know, I never like those kind of sharp, shrilly kind of guitar tones.
Right.
Yeah.
No, we heard the same thing. You know, it's
Right.
just like what we grew. It's just in my head. That's the answer for me.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of sound in my head.
So yeah, I'm excited to get this thing in the hands of other guitar players. I've seen a lot of people ask, when is it gonna
Oh
come
yeah,
out?
absolutely. They've been
Yeah.
asking. Sorry, people. It's been a long several years for a variety of reasons.
Right.
But it's coming out. It's got a whole new look to it. Doesn't look like the old amp,
Right.
and it's very stealth.
Yeah, and I put knobs on. All right, the amp that people will see, I put the goofy knobs on. Dave doesn't like the goofy knobs, but
I didn't say I didn't like them.
You said other people.
I said there might be some people that won't like them,
Right.
but they do make sense.
Right. What I found is that
But you too can go and buy some and do the same thing that Steve did if you'd like.
absolutely, and the only reason that I have multicolored knobs on the amp is that if I'm on stage and I turn around and there's something, I want to bump up the gain stage on channel 1, or I don't have to look, or you know, my eyesight ain't what it used to be, so I can just look and go, oh, it's the green channel. Here's the preamp and there's the master.
Yeah.
So it's a very easy thing.
Makes sense.
You know, so it's just, but yeah, you know, it looks better with the black knobs. I'll agree with that. It looks cooler. It looks more deadly. So yeah, and then I'll demo up some sounds. You know, I mean, this amp is so super versatile. There's no, you know, I do the majority of sessions and things that I do. I just have that amp.
Yeah.
You know, that covers everything. It used to be I'd have to go in the studio and bring different amps with me, one for soloing, one, and then what do you do for the clean? Well, you got to bring in a Vox or something. But you know, it's pretty self-contained. If you can't cover all the bases with this amp, I don't know what you're looking for, honestly, because to me you can get, and also, you know, pickup selection and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's a huge thing.
That's a whole other.
That's a whole other discussion.
Yeah. So between the two, you know, I'm sort of known for using some effects and things, but by and large, it all does come down to the guitar and the amplifier. I'll add effects just for a specific thing, or you know, solo. I just want a wacky sound or something to come in. By and large, most of the stuff I do is guitar, cable into the amp. So.
Yeah, well, that's the goal.
Yeah, and it sounds best that way.
So I guess we're going to let you demo it now.
All right, yeah. So I'll be using my Nags. This is what they call the SSC, the classic, and it's got bare knuckles pickups in it. It's very similar to any, you know, single cut type guitar. But yeah, you know,
Which bare knuckles are in it?
These are a variation on the Mule. It's not a Rebel Yell pickup in these. On my other Nags, I have some Rebel Yells, but this one I wanted for this guitar. I have the Jimmy Page wiring in it. So this is their standard PAF is called a Mule, and that's basically what this. The only difference is there's no wax potting on my pickups. Which doesn't work for everybody, but for a recording, man, I love that.
Yeah, it has that ring, that
I
thing.
love that, yeah. And
live, not so much.
It's you get squeals and all that. So this guitar is really my main recording. It has become my main recording guitar. So bare knuckle pickups, and that's it.
There you go.
All right. So I'm gonna run through a couple of little settings that are pretty standard on the amplifier. My go-to setup with this amplifier and with my previous Friedman SS is to have a great platform for my main rhythm guitar sound. And my preamp on this, just for if anybody's interested in the technical specs, preamp gain is up at around 1 o'clock. Master volume is up at around 1 o'clock as well. And that's the same for the overdrive channel. Clean channel on this is pretty self-explanatory since it's wide open. And that's, you can cater to taste. I like a very bright, clean sound. So my main rhythm guitar is not terribly overdriven. Still articulate. And if I roll down my volume, you can see that's all still on that main rhythm guitar channel. If I switch to the solo channel, you'll hear much more saturation. I still have my master volume at about the same, so I'm not, my guitar's not jumping up. I could set it so that it suddenly, for solos, is much louder, but in this case, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to get more of the saturation, more of the overdrive. I'll show you something. There's a little trick for any of you Brian May fans. You do not need a Vox AC30 to sound like Brian May. So this guitar is equipped with coil tabs. It's a Nags, by the way, my SSC. So if you have a guitar that you can put your pickups out of phase and wind down your rhythm pickup, take your treble all the way off. Instant Brian May. What's really useful as well is if you are in your, now you get to do the Jimmy Page thing. Also, pickups out of phase. So now I'll go to the totally clean channel, which this is just my standard 2 pickups on in phase. So that is the new Friedman Steve Stevens version 2 amplifier.